In the current patch, a lot of hero augments got reintroduced into the game, and there is one that shines above all of them. My name is Boris, and today we'll be looking at the Gragas Hero augment, followed by a VOD review. The main points to consider when playing this hero augment is having that synthetic implants psionic item. I would greatly prefer this to be your 2 psionic item, as you cannot play 4 psionic during your mid game, which is going to be 4 brawler and 2 psionic. For the second psionic item, we are looking at ideally one of the Yi or Pike ones, that being Target Lock Optics or Malware Matrix. Biomatter is playable, but I would greatly prefer it over the drone. Our ideal spot is by playing from a tempo position, as we are very strong in stages 2, 3 and early stage 4, and are going to be falling off a little bit later on, and we'll want to leverage that HP lead we built to make it to a 4 psionic 6 brawler board. Therefore, we are ensuring that we have our 2 stars on 3-2 and ideally hitting around 4-1, 4-2 for our 3 stars. If we have extra items, we are also fine to be chasing Pike 3, as Yi as a secondary carry might be quite contested. Also, when picking this, ensure that there are not that many Yi players in the lobby, as they are going to be contesting your Gragases also during the mid game. Since we want to be hitting quite early on, any form of an econ augment as a second option is sufficient. Otherwise, item augments or some strong combat augments such as group hug, lineup. Charge transfer is very nice, since the Gragas can have quite a bit of an overkill, and second wind synergizes quite nicely with the brawler units. I would not be picking up any form of artifacts, as only Seeker's Arm Guard seems to be performing decently. And while emblems can be good, you're definitely flipping your game by picking them on 3-2. But to mention, some of the good ones are obviously the brawler and psionic emblems, allowing you to hit those breakpoints earlier. Voyager is going to be a free +1, same goes for Timebreaker. If you have the brawler or psionic emblem, you may also consider variations with Marauder, Nova or Darkstar emblems, opening up the possibility for higher cap. Other things to note regarding the comp: we want to be positioning Gragas around the middle. Dead middle is good, or one from the left to the right of the middle is also quite good, where you're going to be hitting the largest clump of the enemy frontline. You blow up their frontline and then are ideally able to also walk a little bit inwards to start hitting their backline. Whereas for Pike, we're trying to position him on the opposite side of the enemy carries. In this form of positioning, their frontline would generally be wrapped or stopped around here, so then when Pike walks up, starts his cast, he's generally going to be having a nice clean line of path to be jumping on their backline carry. This is something you definitely have to be vigilant about whenever playing around a Pike 3 carry. Regarding Pike 3 carry, he definitely likes that IE and Edge of Night, as he's going to be in the backline. If one of your frontline units die, you do not want him to be targeted. And Hand of Justice or Deathblade for that final slot. Regarding Gragas himself, his itemization is pretty much hard bis, with having Jeweled Gauntlet, Hand of Justice and those synthetic implants. Making to that 4 psionic breakpoint is vital. You prefer it over 6 brawler, as upgrading it to the radiant item is going to give him that extra 2 damage through the implants. If you have Jeweled Lotus, then you can just slap 2 Hand of Justices or a Death Cap instead of that Jeweled Gauntlet. Master Yi has your standard itemization, Edge of Night being his absolute best item, as again, if a frontliner dies, you do not want him to be retargeted, as he can dash those backlines. Giant Slayer is a great secondary item, and for the last slot we can have one of those psionic items, or Quicksilver, Titans, Deathblade, Hand of Justice, anything that you can spare. Whereas Pantheon, which is going to be the tank you are rerolling together with Gragas, is going to be holding your utility, and then with this form of positioning, Stoneplate is going to work quite nicely. Otherwise, Warmox, Visage, WoW, anything that your tank components can transition into, just slam them for tempo. If you're not at least 7 copies of Pantheon by the time you hit your Gragas 3, you're completely fine to push levels and try to play around Tahm-Kench too, but again, scout around the lobby, see if you're able to go for that, as Master Yi is such a prominent comp into the meta. For our god selection, Varus, since we're playing a reroll comp, is amazing, providing us a possibility to find duplicators, Ari to bridge some of that econ gap, whereas Echo can provide Anomaly as a strong tank item or a flex item for your Master Yi, and Kale just simply to accelerate your item tempo, opening the possibility to definitely be playing for that Pike 3. As usual, this cheat sheet is going to be available in the link down below, along my meta sheet, which I'm going to be giving a thorough look through again on this weekend, and all the other cheat sheets are available there. And now let's jump in a quad review with a pro. For our WOD review, we are going to be jumping in game with Riri from the Japanese server. Our gods for the game are going to be Ari and Echo. And unsurprisingly, it was quite hard to find a good display of this comp due to so many players hiding their tech due to preparations for EWC or 4v4 or the TPC, which is happening as I am recording this. But Riri is a high elo player on the Japanese server and APAC and has been around for quite a long time, so more of a household name around there. We are also playing in a 2-cost starting out with the Pantheon, therefore we're able to pick up an Ezreal to slot in early 2-time breaker if we see that third one could be playing for some potential tempo play, but we find a 2-star Veigar now going to be fielding the Poppy, another reroll comp that has its niche places to be played, and the Veigar tempo has actually seen very good results also in the competitive play. And with an Usher Slam, definitely something we could be considering, even opted to not hold on to that Ezreal pair right there. For our augment selection right now, Legion of Trees is something that's good into the Urgot comp, however I believe this is usually going to need some more juice. And we kind of have our clear direction, so gambling on an emblem might be a little off, but it's quite good for tempo nonetheless due to the providing extra stats and health with attack speed whenever you have the album holder. Bodyguard training is an augment that I personally have not seen utilized that much anymore. Theoretically it would be good in something like a Yi comp, but many comps nowadays that run Rast, you would rather have slot in that Rast to gain the extra attack speed. This would double dip into that. Salvage Bit, a great tempo augment that you may be considering, would allow us to just make even suboptimal slams for now and figure it out later on. Therefore, I would be defaulting that. Booster Pack is a little bit of a more direction-centric econ augment, therefore it's suffering and only giving 10 golds of worth of unit, and I believe it would be just a little undervalue. If we maybe gained 11, I would be more inclined to be taking it. Now we see the Gragas Bomba self-destruct offered there. He's going to be assumed checking his psionic item, and while not being able to read, I would highly assume yes, if you're clicking this is going to be the synthetic implants, as this is pretty much the only one you would be, especially clicking from this kind of a spot. We're able to pay the replicators here and going to be going with a aggressive level as well, as we have quite of a strong board. We have 2 potential damage dealers. Now would just be opting to slam some kind of items. Now would perhaps maybe slam the open belt instead, as this Gragas does take self damage whenever doing this attack. Therefore, if we want to be squeezing 2 attacks out of him, we want to have a little bit more HP on him. Mapping in some of the units, and we hit that 3 time breakers. So are we going to be a little bit greedy now? Since we have opted for aggressive level, I would definitely be wanting to scout the Robbie around to see if we are in a spot to be able to play these team time breakers. Right, 3 time breaker, good buff with the terms of attack speed and has the potential econ upside. However, you are paying it that in form of a combat power. And just the Veigar here would have made a stronger board for ourselves. Into Heart of Steel, what seems to be most likely some form of a Teemo reroll, able to pick up a win there and make 10 as well, so this is crucial for our economy boost. As long as we hopefully do not end up in odd XP, do not like those games myself. Now, seems to be he's playing around mapping out the board, but this is going to be the regular 4 Psionic 6 Brawler if you're able to get there. And into the heavy is the Crown of a Cho'Gath, so we've been quite fortunate for now to be able to queue into some of the weaker players, and we're gaining this econ advantage through playing the 3 time breaker, quite comfortably winning by a couple of units, and we should be in a good spot. Yeah, we're just going to be going for a pre-level, so a neat play right here. We are on a 3 streak. Again, I would have highly preferred if we scouted the lobby to see if we are going to the level is going to make a difference for us to be able to secure that 5 streak. We are gambling here on that right now. For our god selection, Ari could just be a little bit of an extra econ. However, this Scalpel is going to be around 8 to 9 gold value, and we have to evaluate. The cloak here would probably just mean that we're slamming a D-Claw, an item that's not as hot in the current meta due to so many AD comps. You'd greatly prefer that Bramble Vest. While the bow, again, not one of the Gragas items might be looking for. This is why this might have been a little bit of a tricky spot to be picking the hero augment from, as you definitely want 2 gloves, and we didn't have a single open glove. But this could transition right into a red buff, I would assume. Just sorting out that anti-heal that can be tossed around a little bit later on wherever. Not the 2 components that we'll be exactly looking for, and we've able to find a Gragas from our Penguins offering and a double Gragas shop, so now we're definitely going to be strong. The pre-level playing off right there, so we're going to be slotting in another sniper, just having a little bit more damage. So we're very heavily damage centric. We do not really have that much of a frontline core. Again, kind of debating if having the 2 sniper here on Ezreal 1 and Agnar 1 without any form of a meeple was stronger than just simply having a little bit more frontline bodies in order to protect this Gragas. But the Gragas 2 is going to be an absolute menace since we have that hero augment and going to be stacking items on him for now, as this is what you want to do. You want to be funneling power. Amazing natural shops, absolutely amazing. If you win this, we're able to make 20 gold and be on a 5 streak. And we have 5 copies of the Gragas. So this is the prime spot that you would want to be in. Obviously not going to be secured most of the games, as you have to be wary of some of these Marauder players definitely handling around these Gragases for you throughout the game. Now, end up on our 5 streak, so we are in an amazing econ situation, even though we're only making 20 gold here. Find that pike here, so that should go in, get that 3rd item onto the Gragas right there, and hopefully we're able to complete the actual 3rd item rather than just having a open component on him. The Scuttle Puddle should bounce, give us a little bit even more econ. And let's see if you're going to be going for that very aggressive play of leveling. Do get dropped a Sunfire, as we do want to be keeping this glove open. So probably going to be coming a Stoneplate armor right there. We are just naturaling these Gragases left and right, which is absolutely insane, especially since we are in this win streak spot. If we're able to hit early, we're going to be very likely to be carrying this win streak on and transition into the very high cap state. Now we opted to scout and saw that we could have the potential to level, slotting in that mech for a Voyager, even more durability and damage amp for our team, and that's going to conclude as a 6 streak. Plus we're going to still get that Timebreaker core for more XP, as we're going to be able to push the levels later on. Next augment selection, Bronze for life. Generally, rule of thumb, if comp can use Rust, you're going to be going it. We're going heavy verticals. This should not going to be that appealing. Artifacts, not that great into this comp either, but perhaps we're able to find something that we can just utilize. Since we are on a tempo spot, items are the best thing that can enable our tempo right now. Complete that 3 item Gragas right there. New recruit, since it now gives only a 1/4 cost, we are kind of gambling on the 4 cost since we cannot use that many really, and the extra unit slot would be nice, but I'm not too sure about it myself. I just view it as a quite weak augment. We could be looking at an econ potential here through the invested, even though it's not that strong, it's econ nonetheless. But we are on 6 copies, so we're not actually that far. We are on a 6 streak, we are at 40 gold. For anything, we are quite rich given the units we have naturaled. Now see Cursed Crown. Now I generally shy away from this augment since I do not trust myself to be able to pilot this well. You roll up in a 6 stage 6 and you can just die from 30 HP without any problems. But these are top players that we're speaking of, and Hedge Fund is again the econ and the even more delayed value that we will be getting. We would not be able to hit these thresholds for quite a while, so I would assume that this is a spot we're going to be ripping the Cursed Crown. See him thinking around it, and yes, it's going to be the one. Now we're going to be wanting to rolling, as we definitely want to be extremely strong, capitalize on this extra unit advantage that we have. Just going to be slotting in the replicator. Do not find anything particularly better. Having that 3 brawler right there could have perhaps filled it in the 1-star Cho'Gath instead. Maybe a 4 brawler would have been worth it, but now we hopefully are going to be ending up on a 10 streak. This is what we would be looking for. We've invested our augment into a combat power and quite punishing side on that, but we are playing around it, making us econ through sustaining this win streak. Therefore, we are still opting to dig a little bit aggressively here, find that core key that's just going to be able to slot in. I am still a little bit worried about our front line, as our Gragas might not be able to do that much damage, but we have now a little bit higher quality units in our backline, still positioning that pike in order to hopefully be able to slap enemy backlines. He's getting on that Kai'Sa right there, just unable to get her as the Kai'Sa gets resets and able to retarget on him, but we're still able to pick up a win. Next god selection coming up for ourselves. We'll be ideally looking to finally be able to complete at least a jeweled gauntlet onto this Gragas. Do not get offered the components. This is the gamble. This is why you generally want to be taking these hero augments from a spot where you ideally have a slam, and this would be a point where you're wanting to complete 3 items on him. Obviously, Gragas alleviated through having that synthetic implants, but we're still kind of missing. And for ourselves, Ari here just for extra gold could be nice, could allow us to continue digging right here. And I believe we have a use to make out of this open belt. Tier is obviously a component that we'll be interested in, but I'm not that sure about having this delayed value from Echo. from these two, I preferred at this point, since we are playing Cursed Crown, to definitely align myself with the Echo, since we were going to have so many units to itemize. Going to be going with a tier instead. Probably going to be the... Well, this is going to be interesting to see if we're going to be slamming the Hodge or not. Just picking up a Gnar from our Pengu selection. Saw our Gnar, so not on a pair exactly right there anymore. I would highly doubt that we're going to be going for the Spirit Visage Slam, having a Cho'Gath pair right now, and finding a Karma which nicely fits onto this board. Now we're definitely fine with slotting in the Cho'Gath, but still running this 3 Brawler right there. And now also on the 6 copies of Pantheon, finding that Maokai. So now we're going to be going for Brawler, definitely going quite strong into a Poppy 3, but it's still Veigar 2 with only 2 items, and believe that we simply have such a high unit quality on our board that we're able to close this out. This player still on level 5, going for the reroll route instead of the tempo play. So we're able to punish him there. Finding that Master Yi now, so now how do we slot this in? We have slammed our Hodge onto the Pike for now, as we do not exactly have that much crit to synergize, and we're going to refinesse our items a little bit later on. Do not have that much of a better of a red buff holder, even though we could have slotted it on the Karma right now. 7 Gragases, and we are nicely positioned in a way to just blow up their stream through the big bomb of blast right there, and able to pick up another win against the Primordian player who has also taken Cursed Crown. So definitely a matchup we are very happy to win with all the extra units we have. Now we're probably going to be starting to slot our board as we're becoming a little bit bench locked. Are we going to be chasing this Pike 3 as well? This is like, generally I would at least want to have a couple of free units, bench slots, just to not overlap any of the units. We slammed the Hodge for tempo, now we do get a Rod, so how do we manage to arrive to this Jeweled Gauntlet? It's going to be interesting, going for all and finding our units quite on pace, on tempo, and we have 4 Psionic in, as we have managed to pick up that Victor as well. We ideally see that we have this Malware Matrix right now, able to get the get the Malware Matrix and get our Radiant Psionic items. This Radiant Psionic item breakpoint is so crucial to be getting to. Keeping open Rod and slamming the GSS is going to be just Master Yi items later on. Now, Belt Overflow, we're playing Brawlers, we do not really need that much extra HP, and this would basically have to become more Warmogs. Not too excited, I believe, regarding that. Lucky Gloves. Could go for the play where we just simply toss a single glove utilizing here onto this Jeweled Gauntlet. Then it would be quite in the late value, or this might be... I believe this is Lucky Gloves already a Band of Thieves. Could also be Band of Thieves since it's double ++1. Giant but Mighty, again, health for our Brawlers is not exactly the stat that we were looking for, being greater in... And we do get our 5-cost Sona right there. Would be more useful into something like a Vanguard and Bastion through front lines. Golden Egg with Cursed Crown. Now, if this guy takes it, he's an absolute monster. Could be something to see. Tiny but deadly. Again, not the one that I would be too excited about. So he's just going to be going with Giant Mighty. Extra health, alright. Generic combat option, best one that we got offered. Did not want to gamble on that last reflip. As with Cursed Crown, we could be in absolute terrible position if we do not find anything else. So this will just have to suffice. Having a little bit more HP, I guess, cannot hurt us too much. We should be hopefully be able to cruise now. Obviously, game has been an extreme high roll spot, but we have truly enabled it by playing aggressively, and sometimes the game just rewards you for these kind of plays, right? The vision to take the Cursed Crown right here and be able to push the tempo. Because our board was so strong, we recognize that we are in this position to be able to do so. A lot of players might have just simply played it quite passively, and if you do so, you're never going to be ending up in positions like this. And since we're able to hit so early, we're going to be able to push levels. We have managed to hit that 4 Brawler breakpoint and 4 Psionic, so now our board is fully online. But this Kai'Sa board very strong, as we do not exactly have the items that we would be looking for. This Echoes thing, I am not sure how strong it's going to be on the Gragas himself. Belt is more of a flex component, could offer us the possibility of looking for completing this 3rd tank item onto the Pantheon. Another thing to note about this Echo Snowball is that Master Yi has this interesting spot of where he is able to dash to enemy backlines, right? And if you put the Echo Snowball on enemy, you're reducing his size, and that prevents him from being able to do so. The gist that I've gotten from why this interaction works this way is that when Master Yi in his active form kills the enemy tank, he's still seeking out the closest target to dash to, but for some reason he is ignoring the exact positions of enemy tanks, therefore he is envisioning as the closest targets being the backline units or something on the other side. Essentially, if something has moved, he might not vision them as the exact unit that you are going to be going for. Kind of hard to explain, but just a general idea is that anything that's going to be messing with his size can prevent him, and we have Giant but Mighty, so this might even not be the case to work anymore. So just simply do not to put the Echo Snowball onto Master Yi, at least for this patch, until they hopefully fix it. And obviously going to be nerfing Master Yi at some point as well, as it was envisioned with all the buffs that his line received. He's going to be an absolute menace and continues to be so in this meta. Now, I would be looking here to finally complete our Jeweled Gauntlet with a tier. Double Visage, Jeweled Gauntlet should be sufficient enough. Do we want to be digging too far down the line? We can just tossing this anomaly onto the Master Yi as well and giving him the Giant Slayer. That's going to complete 3-item Master Yi for ourselves. This has the possibility to attack twice, so I guess we're going to be tossing that onto the Gragas right there and removing our red buff onto Sona, who's able to apply it quite nicely. But as we saw, I believe we only lost a single fight this game and we are down 20 HP. Now the good news is we are still in extremely prime position. Our board is pretty much at its full power, and this is where we're going to be cashing in the rounds, able to eliminate another player right there. Now, still opting not to roll, as we would be only rolling for Master Yi. As we can see, there's a Master Yi 2 out by another player. If we're able to make it to level 9, we have a potential to be, I believe at this point, slotting in either a Nova unit, or we could be slotting in that Karma, unless we have that already. Yes, we have Karma already, since we have that level 9 slot open up for ourselves. Level 9 and level 10. So just a Nova unit to get a little bit more healing from the Graga, from the Maokai is going to be quite nice. Now, obviously, you're not going to usually be in these slots to be slotting in extra units, therefore your 4 Psionic 6 Brawler is going to be your cap onto the level 9. But this is something you can make note of when you're utilizing the emblems you might see in something like the Erast encounter. Have secured ourselves a top 4. Still interesting how we're positioning this Pike all the way back, just to assume, make sure that the Yi is able to lock onto the right target before. But this Gragas is just blowing up their front lines, and we are still able to absolutely dominate our opponents through the extra units that we have. This is perfect display of how you want to be playing Cursed Crown. Something you can only consider from these kind of tempo spots, truly. Going to be going for our level here, just looking to slot in, I believe, any Nova unit at this point. Timebreaker can fit in nicely as well, gives us a little bit more of attack speed. Looking out to complete, and we're finally finding a Shred as well, so we are quite lucky to hit on that. Truly, sometimes how TFT rewards you from playing from the spot you might not envision. Me, myself, being a risk-adverse player, I would not have seen this line work out so well, but sometimes when you take the bold plays, the game rewards you, and now we are at the final, against final 2 players, and we should be quite sufficient to hopefully be able to close out the game right there. Have made that Riven 2, but opts to go for the Caitlyn, that's just forgetting that attack speed buff, values that to be a little bit more valuable. Against the Kai'Sa Darkstar player, blowing up the board here against the Teemo player as well, and I believe we might have been in store for a double kill. We can just see how this Gragas, the single explosion just simply makes an absolute boom on the boards. Yeah, we can see, just absolutely eliminating, and now we have the Sona thing that prints some gold as well, but like, just eliminating, like what? This is a 3-star Rust, we have the Baya there, and the 3-star Rust just drops to half health, even though he has a death declaw on him and more magic resist. With so much magic resist, he just, half the board is down, and the Gragas HP hasn't even chipped in that far. Very nicely played game by Riri right here, going for that aggressive play from a spot I would not have expected. but the game rewarded him, and as he was able to identify the ability to go for absolute tempo masterclass through picking up the Cursed Crown. Our last augment didn't work out exactly, but we still were able to pick up the combat option as we had hit our units very early on. Otherwise might have had to look for some potential econ option. But since the game rewarded us, we were able to funnel more and more power in ourselves and win out the game from there. And such bypassing the point where we're going to be crashing by having these falling down by these extra units lost that we had from the Cursed Crown. I would like to thank you for watching. I hope that you learned something new. As usual, all the cheat sheets and my meta sheet with all of them are down in the link description below. And I hope to see you in the next one. Have a good one.